When people come here, they kind of shake their head and go, this is not quite what I imagined Houston to be. Hi, I'm David Leslie, Executive Director of the Rothko Chapel. John and Dominique, who came to the United States from France. They were really great philanthropists, very interested in art, how art also becomes a medium for spiritual growth and development. So they had this idea of creating an ecumenical or non-denominational community-based chapel using modern art as opposed to like going to the Sistine Chapel or something with a lot of images. So they had this idea of having a place where people could gather and really a place for exploration of the spirit and how art could be a medium to invite that kind of introspection. Mark Rothko was probably one of the best known contemporary modern artists in the United States. If you study his earlier work, you'll see a lot of color and images. Late 50s, early 60s, he's starting to paint what we see in the chapel, kind of these darker forms. The Menils commissioned Mark Rothko to do this particular piece. They were introduced to him in the 50s and were just kind of overwhelmed by his art. He had an element of curiosity, an element of spiritual query and questing. The distinctiveness comes again in his wonderful use of geometry, his ability to paint in very large paintings, which may seem contrary to intimacy, but they really invite you into the painting. I mean, a small painting, you can't really go into it. These are so big, you almost feel like you could walk into it. This is one art installation. It's not a series of 14 paintings. It's the building, it's the flooring, it's the skylight. So it's a natural light, the movement of the clouds, all of that working together to create a spiritual existential experience. Of course, we've had really well-known people over the years. The Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Rigoberta Menchú, were leaders on the forefront of justice. And it's the people that come every day. We had a restoration of the chapel. The architect said, should we clean the chapel fuller? And I said, I don't think that's a very good idea because that floor right here represents millions of pairs of feet. Over 52 years of people coming into this chapel. Walkers, wheelchairs, crutches, strollers, all the things that represent who we are as human beings. And I said, you can't wash that away. The chapel was to be a public place, and it still is today, a place of gathering, music, dance, poetry, spoken word, prayer, silence, all the ways that we express that which matter. We explore things that we may never be able to answer, but the question we pose. We say often that we're one of the most diverse cities in the world. We're also one of the most segregated. The chapel then becomes a place where we start to break down those walls and those many ways that we know how to divide ourselves from one another. So it's both reality and it's aspiration, right? It's reality in practice, but it's also always aspiring to be something we're not quite there yet, but we should never give it up.